Just looking at the time, I think we're bang on time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Transfer Khanage. And Gav's going to think that's not the show's name, but I forgot to tell you, Gav, because the confusion between Khanage and Transfer Agenda Show. I've just named it Transfer Khanage without your permission.
That's fine.
Yeah, just thought I'd let you know.
Sounds great.
I just thought I'd let you know live, in front of everyone, as opposed to sort of telling you in private. I know you're getting angry with me, but hey, it is what it is. Welcome everyone to the chat. The chats. There's over 100 people in the chat already. I love it. Love to see it. Can everyone on their way in give us a like, give us a subscribe? You know all that business. Apparently, it's good for the algorithms. Is that how you say it, Gav? The YouTube algorithms.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
something like that. So look, everyone, as you come in. Do all the niceties, say hello to each other, be nice, and then give us a like and a subscribe. Tonight I've got a special guest with me, Ste from Redmen TV. I'm so happy to have you on board tonight, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me. First time. It's been too long. We should have done this a long time ago.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. We've spoken, known each other for years, but never managed to sort of do any sort of collaboration together. But I thought, because when I first started chatting to you, I think you had a bit of hair and I had a bit of hair. And so we would have looked different. But I thought, let us both lose our hair, both look similar. And then now we come on and then we look like brothers and everyone thinks, do you know what I mean? So welcome, man. I know you're a busy, man, so I really appreciate your time.
No, mate, all good, all good. Like I say, I had hair, but then I started working full-time in football and following Liverpool. And I had 2 kids and then it all fell out. So I'm not sure which of those, or is it a combination of all of them? But
combination, yeah. To be on the safe side, let's say combination. Let's not target one area. Also joining me from sunny California, Mr. Avy Blue Chip himself. How you doing, pal? Listen, is it? I know we say sunny California, but is it always sunny in California, or is it just a phrase that we use?
No, 11 months of the year, it's really good.
Really?
Yeah, we only get like January maybe where it rains maybe for 2 weeks, but it goes back to normal again. So
that's why it's called sunny California, right? There's wisdom behind the phrase.
Yeah, call it whatever you want. You can call it
just
whatever
obvious,
you want.
isn't it?
Gav's got a few names for it, but yeah, you can call it sunny California. Yeah.
And Gav from glamorous Dublin. How we doing, pal?
Raining. Rains 11 months of the year here. Sunny in probably for 2 weeks in July, and then we just go back to normal.
Which, for you, is like a major problem because you like your golf, and everyone likes to play golf in or any weather, right? You're any weather. You don't give a shit, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, you're mad in it. Yeah,
doesn't matter to me. I just put on the rain gear and out I go.
Good rounds this week. You went last week, didn't you? Over the weekend,
yeah, last Sunday, good round last Sunday. Yeah, 81.
You filmed. How much?
81.
That is fucking decent.
Yeah, it was good rounds. Yeah,
that is
PGA
decent.
standards,
You what?
That's PGA standards, dude.
No, it was 10 over par. It was good though, for me.
That's not. I love this comment straight away because, people say I bully him, but come on, Matt, friend of the what panel? This is just a shame Avy brings the standard down. That's uncalled for, Matt. Come on, Matt, you're better than that. But he's young, lads. It's that time of year, and what happens in this time of year? Like each week passes, and sort of tensions rise, don't they, on Twitter? Because every week there's not a signing. Like people expect a signing a week, don't they, at this stage? And they have no regard for sort of tournaments going on all around the world, Copa America, the European Championships. But I just wanted to touch upon a couple of things that have come out this week. And the first one was this morning. Was it this morning? Let me get my bearings right. Yeah. Caoimhín Kelleher. Have I said it right, Gav?
Caoimhín Kelleher.
Oh, fuck's sake. Caoimhín Kelleher. I think a brilliant young goalkeeper of Liverpool has signed a new deal. State your thoughts about him getting a new deal, and also being told that he's going to be your number 2. A big sigh of relief for you, or was you one of the few that was okay if Adrian was our number 2?
I was absolutely not okay if Adrian was number 2. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure I'm okay if he's number 3, to be honest. Yeah, the thing. First of all, I can't say his name either, so I'll just go with Kelleher. I think if you're going to have your number 2 goalkeeper, I think he's a very, very good option. I think he's a very good goalkeeper, and there's room for him to develop. At some point, Liverpool will have to loan him out, but that might be next, the season after next, when they can bring in another backup. And at some point down the line, my guess is Kelleher is sold for a decent amount of money, and we move from there. But I was delighted because Alisson misses too many games as it is, so we need a decent backup. And to be fair to Kelleher, I wasn't sure about him when he first started, but when he deputised at times, when he overtook Adrian and became the deputy and was in goal, I thought he did very, very well. He's filled out. He's a bit more stocky than he first was. You can tell he's been doing the gym work and stuff. And I thought he was very, very good. So, because our goalkeeper, he's got a habit of missing games, we need a very reliable number 2. Adrian is anything but a reliable number 2. And Kelleher is. So, I think the new contract brilliant. It protects his value. It keeps him happy. It's not easy sitting on the bench, but if your wages have got an extra couple of zeros on the end of your pay packet, that helps. And then. And like I say, it means that even when Alisson does miss games, we've got someone who's good because, we've lived the Adrian experience, and it's a horrendous experience to live through.
Yeah, Gav, I know you probably share similar thoughts about Adrian, sort of as a goalkeeper, but this is definitely encouraging, and it's good news, isn't it? Kelleher gets a vote of confidence, I guess, because. Like the likes of James Pearce and I think Neil Jones and David Lynch, have all kind of confirmed that he's gonna be number 2. So that obviously means they've been briefed by the club in some way. Big sigh of relief for you as well. You okay with that? Because I know we had a chat about, well, if it's Adrian number 2 and Queven goes on loan, then we're up the creek, aren't we, with that pedal?
Yeah, look, he comes in, Adrian, in the start of 1920, and because of an injury to Alisson, like Steve says, it's one of those where he gets an injury. You think he plays about 10 games. There is ropey moments in there. You remember, is it Ings away at Southampton and stuff like that. But in amongst that, there was good performance as well. So you were kind of going, oh, I'm all right. But then when you look at last season, he was just targeted all the time. It was literally let him get the ball, let him take a touch, and then absolutely press the life out of him. And you've seen it away at Villa. I think it's the opening goal at Villa where he just panics and plays it out past Joe Gomez, and we get killed. And in fairness, in that game there was deflections going all over the place, but just the confidence in the side just drains out of him when Adrian is in goal. With regards to Queevy and Kelleher, this has always been the plan, in my opinion, because if you remember back to 18-19, he's kept in the squad. And he's literally training every day with Alisson. Every single day he's training. And I think you're at MK Dons when we played there in the League Cup, and you were impressed by him. And, last season it could have been a case of, look, he's had a season, he's learned, let him go out on loan and see. But they seem to have kept him here to, I suppose, make him a bit like Alisson. When you look at his traits, he's good handling, he likes to distribute quickly, he's really good with his feet. And he has that confidence where he's no problem hitting diagonals 20, 30, 40 yards to fullbacks. And when I look at it now, I'm delighted he's got a long-term deal. I'm more than comfortable with him being number 2 because, as Steve said, he has filled out. He reminds me a bit of De Gea when De Gea came to England. And I remember De Gea came to England, and literally, I'd say he was about 7 stone wet through.
It's a good shout.
And he was targeted. And I remember United playing away at Spurs White Hart Lane. I think they might have been 2-0 up. They draw the game, I think, in the end. And De Gea gets bullied for a goal. And Ferdinand and Vidic are there, and they're kind of, giving out. And I'm kind of looking at it going, well, you have to protect this guy. He's a whippet, this fella. But with Kelleher, I think it's been the plan, because if you'd have went out on loan, you always have a doubt over a player. Regardless of how good they are. Harvey Elliott is probably the exception at the moment. But right now, he has a long-term deal. He is going to be number 2. And I think they've moulded him over the last 2 seasons perfectly, to be perfectly honest. I think they've moulded him to be as close to Alisson as he possibly can in the traits that he has. He doesn't come out and punch a lot. He doesn't, he doesn't like delay on the ball. He doesn't lack confidence in getting it out quickly. So when you look at all the things he doesn't do them as well as Alisson. Alisson's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. But when you look at what he's trying to do and the way he's trying to develop, I think it's been a plan for 2 years. And it just depended on Queevy and Kelleher living up to that plan. And he has. He really has. Anytime he's played, I've never had an issue with him.
Dan Bailey makes, or Dan Bailey says exactly, reiterates my thoughts about him. And Avy, he says about, Dan Bailey says, for a young keeper, he's a calmness about him that you don't usually see. Players seem to be relaxed knowing he is behind them. Totally fucking opposite of the other fella, right?
Yeah, definitely. No, he came in last season, he had a fair few games and he did really well. I think I've mentioned it before, he made one little sort of slight mistake against Midtjylland away, but he's come in, done a great job. And I think I can see him staying for the foreseeable. I think it depends on the progress that Peter Luger makes, because if it doesn't do 3 years...
I was going to ask him about him because he's been brought in and very highly thought of. I don't know if you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he brought on the advice of Alisson or something? Or Alisson's agent or something?
Some kind of link there, yeah.
Something like that. So he's very highly thought of, yeah.
So it will depend on like him once he gets to 2021, whether he can come up as number two to Adrian. But it's a bit weird because Kelleher's, I think, Republic of Ireland manager did say to him that he should leave Liverpool for first team football because he's good enough to be a number one elsewhere. So he's gone against the grain and signed a contract.
Yeah, that manager's the same guy that's picking fellas out of League Two. So don't be worrying about him.
Who's that though? Who's that?
Stephen Kenny, the Irish manager. Don't mind what he says.
Oh yeah.
I also think, Grizz, I think what's important is that I think if he does eventually go out on loan, it's similar to how Chelsea managed Thibaut Courtois, for example. Yeah. They knew they had Petr Cech, and eventually they let Courtois go out on loan, but it was down the line. I think Liverpool will let Kelleher go out on loan when they think they've taught him pretty much all they can, and then they just need him to go and play. At the minute, first of all, there's plenty more development to do. He's not nowhere near the finished product. And secondly, I still think he's going to get bigger and stronger and more physical. And Liverpool probably want that. We've got some of the best fitness and medical staff in the world at Liverpool now. No stone is left unturned in terms of that. I think it might be that they give Kelleher another year with everything that he needs at Liverpool. Get him to a point where they think, you can't really teach him that much more. He just needs to go and get that experience of playing.
Yeah.
And that
because goalkeeping is one of those positions where, experience is key. It's like you literally have to keep playing games, and obviously it's key in a lot of areas, but especially goalkeeping, and especially for a young keeper. And I get what you're saying exactly, because there is a lot of people have said in the chat that he needs to fill out, and that's natural. He's going to fill out. How old is he? He's 21?
22, I think.
21, 22. So, he's still growing. You can tell he's already a big lad, just needs that filling out. That aura, that sort of, that Alisson kind of has, even though Alisson's not the biggest goalkeeper ever, but he kind of fills out the goal. He intimidates you. He's got this intimidating side to him. I think Kelleher can work on that for sure. But as Gav mentioned, with the ball at his feet, that's the first thing that stood out when I watched him live. Can't remember who. MK Dons, as you said, yeah. He was so calm with the ball. And then later I found out that he was actually an outfield player until very later on in his career. So, look, that was massive news for me personally, and I think we all agree in terms of him being
massive. It's massive because it's stylistically he suits
far more than Adrian.
Because like if you have Kelleher in goal and Alisson is missing, you've Kelleher in goal, and stylistically he's very similar to him. Yeah, you may make some adjustments because he's a young goalkeeper that hasn't got much experience, and you've tried to protect him to a certain extent.
Yeah,
but you can get by that. But what happens with Adrian is that he's in no way stylistically like Alisson, and then to double down on it, he tries to be stylistically like Alisson, and it kills you. And defenders don't know whether to pass back to him, leave balls, attack balls, have a high line, drop. They don't know what to do, and it throws everything out of sync. So overall, I think it's a good move. I don't know whether Kelleher will go on loan in a year's time. He may do. Like Steve says, he develops, and they go, listen, the last push for him is a year in the Premier League with somebody else, and great. and then he comes back and he looks to push Alisson or whatever it might be. But overall, I think it's something that's being planned, and I'm delighted with it. I don't think you can have any gripe about him being second choice.
But just very quickly, and I want very quick answers, right? I know you guys all love chatting, but I'm going to press you for time. Just one couple of sentences. Tell me why Adrian was given a new deal, an extension. Go on, Ste, your theory or your thinking.
I think you need 3 goalies. Again, the same reason I mentioned before. Alisson misses too many games, so you need someone to be on that bench if he's missing. And by all accounts, they love Adrian, like as a fella. I think from everything you hear, they love him. He's a really good guy. He's actually getting paid a very good wage as well. It's bear that in mind. They're paying him handsomely. But I think it's a combination of Alisson's injury history and the fact that he's just a nice guy who's quite happy to be third choice. Scott Carson at City, or just these goalies who are happy to be about. Rob Green at Chelsea was the famous example. I think it's that mould of player, really.
Mascot, basically.
Yeah, basically nice fella.
Nice fella, mascot. Yeah, I know Avy's and Gav's opinions on that, so I'm not gonna delve into it. But so obviously everyone's looking for movement, especially us being a Liverpool channel. In terms of Liverpool movement. And sort of, I think, hit me kind of not surprised, but a couple of names that came up that are said to be for sale, or if we get a good offer, they may be on the move. And one of them, so we kind of expected Phillips to be sort of, if we get a good offer, we'd probably consider it. Neco Williams was a bit of a surprise for me, Avy. Was Neco Williams a bit of a surprise for you?
No, because there was rumours that Southampton were sniffing around January time for him for a loan, but we wanted 8 million. So I think if we can get anywhere around, I don't think he fits. It's very difficult for us to look for a right back because we're going to always, it's that sort of catch-22. We're always going to judge a right back to Trent, and there's no one in the world that can do what Trent does. From that position. So you look at sort of someone who's sort of attacking. I don't think Neco, for me, he's found one ink in this sort of league, especially at the top level. I think maybe a mid-level sort of move to a Southampton, even like a Norwich if they get rid of Max Aarons, somewhere along there, because I know they've come up, Watford maybe. I think that's sort of more his level, unfortunately. Nothing against the kid, always gives his 100% when he comes on, and he's gone with Wales to the Euros, so credit to the lad. But yeah, for me, I think if we can get anywhere between 7 million to 10 million, then I'd bite their hands off and just take it.
Gav, if we do manage to get anything like that, so let's just say between the 7 and 10 million mark, do you expect us to reinvest that in that area of the field? Or do you think we will try to manage or create from within? Like, Klopp often talks about sort of solving problems, not necessarily by going out and spending the money again on another reserve fullback, another fullback that's going to be expected to play probably 8 to 10 games maximum a season, but at the same time be of a very decent standard, not obviously Trent standard. How do you think the club goes about dealing with this? I mean, assuming, and it looks like the noise coming out, it does look like Neco Williams will be let go if a decent offer comes in.
Yeah, that seems to be the word. That if decent money comes in, he'll leave, and it's part of that is down to Neco Williams wanting to play first team football. He's a young guy. He's broken into the Liverpool squads the season before last. He's kept around the squad last season. He's at the Euros. And obviously we're getting that break with Wales. He probably is looking, going, listen, I want to stay here. I want to stay in this squad. I want to become a regular in this squad. And maybe he's looking, saying, Trent is ahead of me and I'm never getting in ahead of him. And Neco Williams is probably limited to right back or a push left back, which for me is not a position for him. And he's probably looking at it going, I probably need to go somewhere else to just play regular football, to have a chance of regular football. He could go to Southampton and be back up to what's the guy? Is it Kyle Walker-Peters? Is there? Yeah. He could be back up to him, but he'll have way more of a chance of getting into the side around him than being a right back for Liverpool when Trent Alexander-Arnold is around, because he's a generational fullback for me. So that might be in Neco Williams' thinking. With regards to the investment, I would hope he would go and do something at right back, because I don't want to see Joe Gomez playing right back for Liverpool. I've said this going back I don't know how long. He's not a right back. You know, if he's, and I don't. You've seen the problems we had at centre half, and then we're coming into a season with 2 centre halves coming back from 9 months out. You have Khanage coming in. You don't know how he's going to react to the league, although he looks really, really good. You don't know what's happening with Nat Phillips. That we'll come to that later. So I don't want Joe Gomez as the backup. I don't want James Milner as the backup at right back, and I definitely don't want Trent or Oxlade-Chamberlain there, like, because it's blown my mind that this even coming into people's even into their thinking. It's mad. So I would hope they would invest, and what I mean by that is I'm not asking them to go, if they get 10 million for Neco Williams, I'm not asking them to go out and pay 10 million. I'm asking them to go out and say there could be a player, you know, looking for one contract, you know, for a year or two to be and come in. 5-6 million quid, you bring him in, he's steady, he's just a better version of Neco Williams. And it might cost you a bit more on wages, but he's solid and he knows what he's coming into, you know, the sort of way. I don't want to see us making utility players out of players that have set positions. I just don't. And listen, there might be plenty of people out there that do, but just my opinion after seeing how we've tried to absolutely crowbar players into positions last season because of what happened with round injuries, and it did not work. It just did not work, and I just don't want to see it again. How many games will Trent miss? Not many usually, but I'm quite comfortable with a more experienced fullback coming in. And yeah, we lose something in attack. You will, regardless of who you bring in. But someone like
a right-sided Ryan Bertrand, would you say? Do you know what I mean?
Precisely. Someone that comes in and knows they're a bit of a squad player, and they get in here and there, League Cup, FA Cup. They might get the odd league game because Trent is injured. That might be very, very hard to find. But overall, I'd like to see them invest some, maybe not all of it, but some of that money in bringing in a right back cover that knows their right back cover. I don't want to see Gomez. I don't want to see Oxlade-Chamberlain. I don't want to see Milner. And you know, if that happens, you're just waiting to be shot at. That's just my opinion on it.
Avy's smiling away and giggling away because basically I had to step in last week between these two about this debate about Ox. Possibly being utilised at times next season, because Gav went mad. Like Gav, and I think Gav was on Can 4, you know, by then as well. So it was extra mad. But I'm going to ask your opinion, and I'm hoping that it's a bit controversial and it's a bit opposing to Gav, because this will be fun. But look, how do you find an understudy to Trent if it's not Neco Williams? If you know what I mean, like Neco Williams. Look, he's a Welsh international. He's young. He's still learning. Yet it seems we're very happy to let him go. Now, do you think, and what would you do, Ste, first, right? Would you try to promote within, try to have a mix and match of Milner, Ox, Gomez, or do you really try to find a specialist right back and put him there? What do you do?
It's hard because, you know, Costa Shimmercast is exactly this, isn't it? And you know, he didn't kick a ball last season. Doesn't play. It's all. You know, we went and spent £12 million for it. What Gav just mentioned there, a backup guy who comes in as a backup. Never kicked the ball. Didn't do anything. I personally think you would be hard pressed to get anyone that Gav mentions who's better than James Milner at doing that job. He would be my choice if we're not going to sign someone. I think Milner at right back at times would be fine with that. I have no issue with that in certain games. I actually think he can actually be a bit more better defensively than Trent at times if he needs him to be. He's not going to get up and down the pitch as much, obviously, but I'm quite happy, and he'll be targeted by lads with pace. I know I've seen Wilfred Zaha have him on toast a couple of times, but that is what it is with backup players. It's almost impossible unless you're Manchester City to have two in every position. One guy who's been mentioned recently in the press, and I know for a fact Liverpool love, is young Conor Bradley from Northern Ireland, Northern Irish international already. He's only just about to turn 18, which, you know, Neco's only just turned 20, by the way. There's not that big, and you know, it's only 2 years. I know they love him. Like, he is really, really high thought of. Northern Ireland were keen to get him a cap as soon as they could, because in case they're worried about residency and stuff. But he's only just moved over here. I think he came over here in 2019 from a semi-pro Northern Irish team, and he's blown them away how good he is. I've got mates who cover the academy, like you guys probably have. He hasn't played that much, obviously, because of the huge disruptions, but Liverpool love him. And it might just be that they're thinking, if we have to have a year of Milner until we have Conor Bradley. And bear in mind, he's a little bit like Trent, who's a midfielder who almost converted to play in that position.
Interesting.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's the plan. Like Jürgen identified Trent about 5 minutes after he got through the door. Like he went in and went to the youth team. Who's your best player? They said Trent, and he said, "Do us a favour, train him to be a left back." He obviously didn't fancy in the final decline, and we are where we are with that. I would be perfectly reasonable if they, sign a midfielder first, because if Milner's going to be a backup right back, he can't also be a backup midfielder. That is one we mentioned before. Rafa Benitez saying blanket can only cover so much. You pull it off one, you take away from the other. So if Liverpool go and buy a midfielder, which I expect them to do, then I think he becomes your backup right back. I completely agree with Gav. The last thing I want is to see Joe Gomez over there. He doesn't need that. He's running up and down that wing all day. We don't need that at all. I think he broke his leg at Burnley playing right back, if I'm correct. The first major injury he got a few years ago. I don't want him playing right back. He's a centre half, and he's a really good one, so we don't need that. But I'm quite happy with Milner, and then if they develop on Conor Bradley, again, he's a kid, he's 17, he's about 10, 18. It might just be that he does what Trent does and plays the odd game here and there. But I think we saw with Shimmercast the fact that I don't think you can buy and back up players who aren't going to play. It
doesn't always work.
It's a waste of money. What did Shimmercast off of Liverpool last season? He did nothing. So, and he's just a nice lad by all accounts and stuff. He never kicked the ball. And that's what's going to happen if you buy back up with Trent, because you can't replace the best right back in the world, which sort of got. So I think that's the plan. I think that is Liverpool's plan as well. And I think Liverpool are quite happy to let Neco go. I think that tells you something as well. They haven't said no. They haven't put the blocks on that. They're quite happy to let him find another club. I think that speaks volumes as well. If he was as good as people maybe want him to be, he'd have been shot down straight away.
Yeah, Ste makes a very good point, and I think that goes for the same for Nat Phillips, don't you think, Gav? The fact that sort of we've sort of let it come through our local journalists, that we're happy to accept a fee. There is a fee out there that we will say yes to for Nat Phillips, and I think that says a lot, as Ste says, for the likes of Neco and for himself. This was not as a shock. I guess a lot of people may have thought that, Nat Phillips. Look, I said it. I done a brilliant tweet that got like a few thousand likes, and it said something along the lines of Nat Phillips. I'll never forget him. Look, we would never forget Nat Phillips. None of us. He's an absolute folklore hero. He will forever be, for that mad season that was the COVID and the injuries, and he stepped in and he absolutely secured our spot for Champions League. But I think Gav, not all, most Liverpool fans, Gav, thought that he wasn't of the required standard if we're going to compete for Champions League and league title. Is that a fair assumption?
It depends what way you're making that assumption, and I keep going back to this, but it all depends on Joel Matip and what they do with him. It genuinely does with regards to Nat Phillips, because look, Nat Phillips is not the best centre half in the world. He's not the best centre half at Liverpool. He's probably not in the top 3-4 centre halves at Liverpool, but he's very dependable. And I've made it clear. I've said it quite clearly that I would go in next season with 5 centre backs. I genuinely would. I would go in with 5 centre backs, because we went in with what 3 and Fabinho last season, and you see what happened. Now people will tell you like, "Oh, stop being so dramatic. It won't happen again." I'm not saying it'll happen again, but you've two of your major centre halves who literally haven't played football for 9 months, and they're coming back in. You've got Matip, who is not dependable. Great centre half when he's on the pitch, but not dependable. You've got Ibrahim Khanage that's coming in, as I said before, into a new league. No matter how good he is, it's still a new league. We've seen good centre halves come into this league and struggle, and then progress. We've seen it, the sort of way. And I would just keep Phillips. I genuinely would.
Okay.
For the sake of 10 million, for the sake of 10 million quid, I would be happy with that insurance policy there, because We don't know what's going to happen with Van Dijk. We don't know what's going to happen with Gomez. We nearly know what's going to happen with Matip, and it's not good. Do you know what I'm saying? And Khanage, you give him a chance. If you're going to keep Matip, you lose Phillips, or you keep Phillips. If you move on Matip and you bring in another centre half, then I think Phillips becomes a question over him. I think you're right. I think the club will accept 10, 12 million, whatever it might be. They may do that because, look, he was playing for Stuttgart's second team a year ago. You know, the sort of way. So it is a massive rise. He's a cult hero. Those fellas getting tattoos of Nat Phillips head in the brick and all sorts of stuff. But I just my worry. It's brilliant to see the lads Gomez and Van Dijk coming back, but I still, in the back of my mind, think we need some sort of insurance, and I think Phillips might be that if Matip stays at the club, and that's just the way I am on it. But I think you're right. I think they will accept the bid. But again, like you said with Neco Williams, if they accept 10 to 12 million, just go and sign Kabak, or go and find another centre half for 12 million. Don't mess around and say, and try to be cute and say Van Dijk, Gomez, Khanage, Matip, because I think you're asking again. I think you're asking for trouble.
There's no stay. I agree with Gav in terms of there's no way we take a risk right this season. There's absolutely actually before we go on to that, let me just clear this from the screen. Appreciate the super chat. Thank you very much. A_C_5814. Just want to say thank you to Gav and all the Daytrippers for the PS5. I was going to say P65. That shows my age.
Nintendo 64.
Smash the like, everyone, and let's get the channel to 11k subs.
It's literally just reading words. You didn't have to investigate that. You just have to read them words.
Yeah, I know that's a problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the human that won the PlayStation.
The human.
Well, we don't know if it's a female or male, do we? From that text,
it's a male.
Is it male?
Yes.
That's the gentleman that won the PlayStation, which everyone knows we gave away at 10k. We've got an amazing giveaway at the next landmark. But going back to the Nat Phillips debate, if we do sell him again, which looks like we've put it out there, so that means we're inviting offers, and that's usually a sign of give us the money and he's gone. I want to ask you about Ben Davies and your opinions on him, what it means, why is he there, why did we buy him, and is he in the back of Klopp and coach's mind as the fifth choice? And we know the four that we're sticking with, right? The Matip, Gomez, Konate, and Virgil. Or would you not be comfortable with that and say, look, we get 10, 12 million for Phillips, but we go and get another centre half, which again is so fucking difficult to do. How the fuck are you going to go and find a fifth choice centre back that's happy to be there, you know? So what do we do in this situation?
I think that's the thing. I think Davies is probably the fifth option. I'm with Gab. I'd actually go down the middle. Nat Phillips wants to go. I think we need to make that clear as well, by the way. I think that's something that's way of saying he wants to leave. So you've got to throw that into the mix. He's asked, he basically not going to play.
And he deserves it. He deserves it. By all, look, but with everything he's done, and especially him playing so many, not having played enough in his career already, you know, he deserves to sort of be an absolute a nailed-on starter at very decent club. So we absolutely agree that he deserves it. So yeah, that's a good point you make.
And listen, two Premier League teams wanted. I think Burnley and Brighton are the two who are really interested. Brighton are looking for a Ben White replacement. He's probably going to leave, and Burnley are looking for probably James Tarkowski's replacement. So they want him, so he wants to go. I think it might be a good thing in that it might say that the injured lads may be coming back, or maybe fit, or maybe fitter than we hope. I don't think Liverpool would take the risk if they weren't. Personally, I wouldn't sell him. I'd make him wait till January and say, listen, I want to see how these guys come back, and can they last? Because come back from an ACL is fine, but you come back from an ACL and your hamstring goes, or you come back from, Matip's always injured and things like that. I'd split it almost and say, listen, we'll sell you in January. The flip side is if you want that Phillips and Burnley and Brighton go and sign another centre half because they need to, and then the ship sailed. So from an pure economics point of view, like, Liverpool aren't going to let him go for nothing next summer. He can walk out of the door for free next summer straight away. Liverpool aren't going to allow that to happen. It makes
all the sense then in that case, yeah.
there's 10 million quid on the table for a guy who's your fifth, sixth, in any position, you're probably going to take it. On Davies, the issue with Davies is we just do not know because we've never seen it. We've never seen that kick a ball. He was the sub. Liverpool played an 11v11 game, and Ben Davies was sub. Didn't get a game in that, so obviously, whatever that's what he was at the time. It might just be that they want to bring him along, and they see him as fifth choice. Don't forget, Rhys Williams is there, Billy Cometio's there as well. Who knows what they think of those? But Nat Phillips, I think it's been widely reported, hasn't it? He said, if I'm not going to play, can I go? I've been on loan, you've sent me to Stuttgart, you brought me back, I was nearly joining Swansea, I was nearly going to Bolton again, things like this. For him, there's a chance, a once-in-a-lifetime chance, probably for him to go and move to a Premier League team. Like, Liverpool aren't going to stop him doing that. And from his benefit, it probably makes sense. Like, say, if you're from purely selfish Liverpool point of view, I would ask him to wait till January, but I could see why he wouldn't be happy with that. And to be fair to Jurgen Klopp, he's been happy he didn't want Danny Ings to go, but Danny Ings got the chance to go and be Southampton's main man, so he'd let him go because it's the right thing to do. And he's done that a couple of times with players, and I think that's what the situation is with Nat Phillips. I think he's said, "Here's yours. Who am I to say to you? I'm denying you a move to a Premier League team because I need you to be there in case Joel, Joe, Virgil, and Ibrahim Khanage all get injured." I think that's harsh to do. So I'm with you. I expect that, and I don't think it'll be that long. I think the dominoes are starting to fall in terms of the centre back market. I think Ben White looks like he's the first one to go, and then James Tarkovsky is going to move, and then Connor Cody might move, and it's all going to fall down. And it's going to when all the dominoes fall, Nat Phillips is going to be a starting centre half for somebody, and fair play to him, he deserves it.
That makes sense, doesn't it? Avy, glad you're back with us. Like, obviously, California Wi-Fi is not as good as UK Wi-Fi. It's okay. But we were just talking about Nat Phillips, and Ste touched upon basically the domino effect of, and that's what usually transfers windows kick off, don't they? One sort of deal happens, and then it kind of leads to other deals, etc., etc. And it seems like Arsenal have made the plunge for Ben White. I didn't expect Arsenal to be the club to take the plunge. I mean, Ben White was linked with us. I know we liked him. I know for a fact we liked him a lot, but we weren't willing to pay that kind of money for him. United were linked with him.
What? How much is it?
Well, 50 million, Gav.
47.
So,
It was 35 a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, he's.
I'm not one bit surprised Arsenal are doing this because they're fucking insane.
Well, there's a video of him chasing Gemma Collins now, Gav. So his price has gone up. I don't know if you've seen it going around and
Having a clue what you're talking about.
Well, you need to get on Twitter more. I keep telling you.
Really.
Absolute gems on Twitter. But Avy, 50 million. I mean, I can't believe it, but it is what it is. Arsenal needed a centre back. Look, I rate Ben White very highly. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and I do rate him. But 50 million's crazy, right? And then when you compare it to the player we've bought, Ibrahim Khanage, for 35 million, fans have this perception, and I was chatting to Ste before we came on, and I'm chatting to you guys, that we've got this perception of sort of the most expensive is the best, the shine, the like this marquee, this sort of fascination with a marquee signing. Now, to me and to I think most of the footballing public, Ben White for 50 million, Ibrahim Khanage for 36 million. Haven't we done this more smarter business?
Of course we are. Just on Ben White, if he's 50 million, and again, I think it's British media. Again, it's the hype of local sort of pundits who have sort of glamorized this player. He had a really good season at Leeds, don't get me wrong, in the Championship, right? Last season, he had a shaky start at centre-back, and then he got converted to a DM role by Graham Potter. So where does he fit in at Arsenal? Is he playing alongside Partey, or is he playing alongside Gabriel Magalhaes? Like, where's he actually fitting in? 50 million for Ben White this is what makes me grateful that we have a structure at the club. We have like a Michael Edwards that think, and they have they go through the metric system, and they have an array of players that they go through, right? They'll have option 1, option 2, option 3, and so forth. Ben White for 50 million. If he's worth 50 million, why isn't he starting for England ahead of Tyrone Mings? Would you go out there, Rich literally paid 50 million for a Tyrone Mings, a central defender who's ahead of Ben White for England?
Yeah, well, the only defence I give to Arsenal is they're probably looking at him as a young centre back. That they'll overpay for him now, but in 2 or 3 years' time, he could be absolutely the man at centre half for Arsenal. Or if he is that, and Arsenal do what Arsenal do, and they sell them on for 60, 70 million, and they get 3 good seasons out, whatever it might be. The issue for Ben White is going to be that Arsenal being Arsenal are going to sign him for 50 million, make a big fanfare about it, and then drop him right in the middle of that defence with all the other lunatics around him. And it's going to affect Ben White. That's what will happen, because that's what Arsenal do. They sign centre-backs, they drop them in, and all hell breaks loose. Like, they had that guy Saliba. Right?
Yeah, where does that leave that exact my next point? Where does that leave him?
And he was so highly rated. Now, he had got personal problems. I think his mother and father, no, don't quote me in this, but I think his mother died, or there was something went on there, and I think he wanted to go back to France because of family issues, and he's a young guy, and that's absolutely fine. But that doesn't make sense for me, that deal. But having said that, Brighton are looking going 50 million quid for Ben White. I'll take it all day. He looks a very good player. My only worry for Ben White is that it's Arsenal, the club he's going to, because they're mad. They're absolutely mad, Arsenal are. Like, they're crazy, and they will just drop him in and expect him to be the man that will, lead Arsenal's defence for the next 10 years. And it's a big job to do that, especially at Arsenal.
And then, Grizz, you're mentioning like the domino effect. I think Burnley have done really well. They've brought in Nathan Collins, I think, from Stoke, who was previously linked with Man United, funny enough, about 18 months ago. So obviously that would probably pave the way for Tarkowski to, maybe leave. But yeah, again, Ben White, it's crazy money, 50 million. And that's what makes me grateful that we have got a Ibrahima Khanage and for 35 million. It's smart business. And I can put it, I'll say it out here now, next season, Khanage will have a much better season than Ben White. A much better season than Ben White.
I think, you know what, I've got an inkling, I've got a feeling Ben White may even be used at right back, because they're trying to sell Bellerin. And you got to remember, or sometimes
they did that with Chambers, though. They did that with Chambers when they bought him for 12 million from Southampton. They put him, he was supposed to be a centre back, put him at right back, and then fluctuated his positions.
But Ben White is a far better footballer than Chambers. Far better footballer, and possibly right-sided centre back. Sometimes they play 3 at the back, but I know we're sort of talking about sort of getting 10 million for Neco and 10 million. Where are we spending this day? Where are we spending all this money that we're seemingly putting into the coppers?
All this money, 20 million quid you just put in.
Hey, listen, that's half a player in the Premier League you can get now. Because Ste, you told me about this McGinn fella from Villa, and it's caused quite an uproar over social media. What's wrong with McGinn? Like, take it away. Why the uproar?
I think the price, you mentioned 50 million for Ben White. Well, it's 50 million for John McGinn. And the thing is, the prices now, I don't know what players are worth. What you got to remember is football clubs at the lower end of the Premier League. I know we're in the pandemic and that expect, but like, they don't need to sell anymore. Like, you could just, you used to be able to just go and poach the best player from anyone from 10th to 20th. You could just go and take their best player off them for relative buttons, because they were all skint and needed the money. We're not there no more. And again, I know pandemic is changing, but the pandemic's affected everybody, so everybody's moved. Everyone's in the same boat there. Like, Aston Villa don't need to sell John McGinn, and Brighton don't need to sell Ben White. So Ben White might not be a £50 million player, but he's worth £50 million to Brighton. And Wilfred Zaha at Chelsea is at Crystal Palace is the exact same. He might not be a £50 million player, but he's worth that to Palace, so they'll put that on him. And what that does, it does a few things. It says to the player, we're not blocking you from leaving. We're not saying, no, you can't go. Someone's got to want you and compensate us over what you're worth. Because, my house might be worth X. Say my house is worth X amount. And if someone knocked on my door and offered me that amount of money, I wouldn't say yes, because the hassle of me having to move out of my house for exactly what it's worth. But if he said, I'll double what it's worth, then I'll probably let him go. I'll probably let him have it. You know what I mean? It's things like that. I think its value is so relative. And I like John McGinn. I think he's a very good player. But it's you see £50 million and people go, wow. And then you look at someone like a Jadon Sancho going for 75, and then you go, well, for 25 million more, we could have it. I have people messaging me about John McGinn saying, well, for 5-10 million more, you could have Jack Grealish. First of all, that's nonsense. Jack Grealish goes, it's probably going to be closer to a 3-figure sum than 50 million quid. But it's all relative. Like, Villa do not want to lose John McGinn. So if Liverpool come knocking, they say to John McGinn, you can go, if Liverpool pay 50 million quid, then that's almost them putting a block on the transfer, but without actually blocking the transfer and pissing John McGinn off. I think it's kind of that thing in that all these clubs just do not need, they just do not need to sell players. There's no rush to do it. And I think that's where we're at now. Things have completely changed from the day where Man United could just go and knock at Wigan's door, take Antonio Valencia off them for buttons, and then he becomes Man United captain and plays 200, 300 games for them. That day's gone. If they want to go and buy Brighton's captain now, or they want to go and get Wilfred Zaha or James Ward-Prowse or whoever from a bottom Premier League team, it's going to be a big old fee because they just do not need the cash. And that's where we're at. And that's why, to be honest, sometimes the deals are going to be for the top end players are the lads who are running contracts now. So, Kylian Mbappe, for example, the reason Kylian Mbappe's name is being bandied about is because he's got 1 year left.
Absolutely.
So and Jadon Sancho wants to leave and his contract situation's a bit up in the air and stuff. So there's a massive difference between taking a lad who wants to go from a team and contracts are running low and things like that, and going and signing someone who's under contract for years at a team who don't need the money. And that's where we're at with John McGinn. And listen, I think from everything you read and you hear, John McGinn is a player Jurgen Klopp wants. One of those signings where it's the manager who wants him. I've mentioned before about the analytics and the staff and Michael Edwards and the amazing team he's got. My suspicion is John McGinn is one of these that Jurgen Klopp said, I like him, can we do something about it? And time will tell if we can.
That's a very interesting point he makes, Gav, and I wanted to come to you on that. I know Avi's got some opinions on that as well. And Ste makes a point, and I think is a very important point in terms of Jurgen Klopp. This seems like a Jurgen Klopp player, one that he's sort of targeted and been impressed with, kept an eye on, possibly since the 7-2 thrashing, and said, I like this kid. I like his whatever attributes he has, I like them. If that's the case, and it's not a Michael Edwards laptop sort of signing or standout signing, does FSG back Jurgen Klopp in that decision and say, if that's who you want, then we will do whatever we can and possibly pay whatever we have to, not 50, but let's say 40 million. In that case, who are we to disagree with that? Or would you still be a bit concerned that the likes of midfielders that we'll probably come on to mention are available and we're going for John McGinn?
What age is John McGinn?
27.
So if you're giving him a 5-year deal, he's running to 32. That's one pushback you'll get from FSG. I think that the Thiago one is an outlier to a lot of what FSG do. But having said that, I've said it since January. I was annoyed in January over the way Liverpool carried on in the transfer market or didn't. FSG, I'll say it again. FSG, I think the way they work, I think they have to step away from it a little bit. And I'll keep saying this until the end of the summer. They have to step away from what they usually do, just that little bit. And the reason being is because, we have got players that have played a hell of a lot of football. They are getting towards that 30 years of age where people just write them off immediately when they're 30. And then you have a backup that, in my opinion, let them down badly last season. When they needed to be there and to be called upon, they weren't there for us. And I think it exposed them. It exposed Liverpool as a side, as a squad, and those players individually, I think they were exposed for not being dependable enough and not performing like people would tell you they could perform. All right. With regards to John McGinn, people will, if I think Steve's right, if you go to Villa and they go 50 million and they think that'll knock them, they won't pay 50 million, and John McGinn can't get annoyed because we really value him, and if we tell him we really value him, we put that mark of value on him, and McGinn can't do anything. Having said that, McGinn could turn and go, I want to go, I'm going to push, and I'll cause all sorts of trouble. That can happen as well, and people would give out if John McGinn signed for Liverpool. I think a lot of people would. John McGinn from Villa, 50 million. But having said that, if it's a Klopp one, and Klopp says, I want that player, I think for the next 3 years I'm going to be here, I think he'd be essential to us. I think he'd be a good spend. The fee is a bit mad, but as Steve says, what are people worth anymore? You don't know. And FSG back him, you can't really argue, because you can give out on the one hand that they're not backing the manager, and then if the manager says I want him, regardless of who it is, and they get him, the only person you're going to give out to over 50 million quid is probably Jurgen Klopp, and I'd love to see someone have a go at Jurgen Klopp over spend the money for Liverpool with the money with the credit he has in the bank. So it's a weird one. I like him as a player. I don't know if it's financially sound, in my opinion, to do that sort of deal for 50 million quid on a 27-year-old when there's probably better value out there. But it all comes down, if Klopp says I want him and they go and get him, who's anybody to argue? You're only going to argue with Jurgen Klopp, and I don't know how you even broach that situation.
Avy, they obviously the names were thrown out as soon as the link appeared. Everyone sort of has a vision of a better player than McGinn or someone more suitable or for better value. And yesterday, and you know what the fan base is like. We're so reactionary. So at the same time, I think Portugal were playing France, and a fellow called Renato Sanchez, who we've been linked with in the past, obviously, and he's been on the radar seemingly, but sort of the fans went in overdrive and meltdown. Like, how can we be going for McGinn when we've got a man like Renato Sanchez, probably available from Lille, probably cheaper, younger? What are your thoughts on the comparison, and would you go for Renato Sanchez? Is that someone that you'd be interested in?
Oh, definitely. He's had a bit of a renaissance under Christophe Galtier at Lille. Renato Sanchez, this guy should never have gone to the Euro 2016. He went under this 17-year-olds in the Portuguese squad, all the hype, and he had an okay tournament, gets a move to Bayern, didn't get a chance there, played, a bit of inconsistency, and then he gets flogged out. We saw him at Swansea, and there's clips of him at Swansea misplacing some passes.
Last time we saw him, he was playing 1-2s with advertising boards.
He's come on a bit since then. Yeah. But look, he's obviously found the right club at Lille. He fits everything. I'll be shocked if he doesn't fit everything what we're looking for. Not in terms of he is very similar to Gini, where he can hold the ball up, he can drive with the ball, he can he wants the ball all the time. Yesterday you saw that against France, constantly asking for the ball. For me, yesterday was a big acid test, and he passed it. He brought so much more control to that Portuguese midfield than Bruno Fernandes did. Hence he was dropped.
Oh, that fraud. Yeah.
So if it was possible that we could get a deal done for like a Renato Sanchez, he's 23, 24 in August. If we could maybe get a deal for around 30 to 35 at a stretch, I would be all for it. John McGinn, look, there's going to be people for and against. For me, ideally, no, he wouldn't be my choice. But look, if Klopp and Linders and Kravitz have seen something in him that say, look, he's the right engine for our team, he's the next cog in that machine that we're trying to build for that next sort of phase to challenge the Cities and Chelseas, then I'm all for it. But at 50 million, no, you can't sell that to me at 50 million. No chance. I wouldn't even pay more than 25 for him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, as bad as that. Someone put, Gav, I think you put up a comment where someone said Bayern have sort of got a buyback clause on Renato Sanchez.
Yeah, the rumour is that there's a buyback clause, and there's a rumour that there's a buyback clause of 30 million. And I heard this earlier on today, and someone did say it in the chat there a second ago, but apparently Bayern have got a buyback clause on them, and they could activate that. And I don't know when that runs out. It could be the end of this summer, and then that goes. But there is a rumour going around that Bayern are ready to activate that for 30 million.
You could see that. I mean, I'm not sure if the kid himself would want to go back to Bayern. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. He may want to sort of come back to the Premiership again. But if that's the case, 30 million, then obviously there's no point sort of discussing it any further. I think if Bayern,
I think under Nagelsmann he would shine in that Bayern system under Nagelsmann, because I know he's now Bayern Munich, so I think it could work out for him. But again, it's one of those, would a player want to go back to Bayern after the way he was sort of treated as well? He didn't really get much of a crack.
Interesting. But look, Ste, I think we're very. I think we're adamant, despite what some opinion pieces have been coming out from the article in terms of we're not going to be looking for a central midfielder. I think it's imperative, absolutely imperative, when someone like Gini Wijnaldum's minutes are no longer there, that you have to replace those minutes. Dave. We can't. Are we really? We're going to rely on Cater and Ox and Jones to make up those minutes. I wanted your opinions on Cater and Ox, and in terms of what you would do with them personally. In terms of, again, if offers came in, is there one that you'd keep? Would you keep both? What's your thinking on the two of them? Because they, just like Matip is key, as Gav says, to the defensive situation. I think Cater and Ox are absolutely vital to how the midfield is set up, type thing. So, what do you think about them two characters?
I'm not a big fan of injured players. I've always said this, like, guys are always injured all the time. They're a waste of space, and I don't. It's not personal. They're a waste of time because they can't play, and if players can't play, what's the point? You can't. If offers came in, I'd take both. And if someone said to me, sell those two and then you'll go and buy 3 centre midfielders, then I would, personally, just because I want 3 reliable players. And I like them as players when they're fitting on the pitch. And I thought, Naby Keita at times has been really underwhelming. You talk about that 7-2 at Villa, that's probably the low point for him, where he was just dreadful. But then, post-lockdown, the first time when we were about to be crowned champions, he was probably our best player. So we see every section with Naby. But he's injured all the time, and you can't rely on him. We had this with Daniel Sturridge, and we had this with Adam Lallana as well. They take a place in the squad, they take wages, and you can't just keep buying. There's a limit on how many squad players you can have in numbers. And if one of them's taken by one of those guys, it means you're effectively always one down, because one of those two isn't always going to be injured. I don't know which one it is, but how often are those two both available? They're not. So again, it's not going to happen. I think Liverpool would keep both of them. But I wouldn't be against getting rid. I think Ox is most definitely going to stay. I'm pretty sure they've actually told teams that he's staying, like, don't bother, when they've had knocks on the door. Yeah. Keita, I think he probably would sell. I don't know if anyone would buy him at the minute, just because the price what people would pay and the injury risk is too large. Go back to your first question. Liverpool will sign a centre midfielder, and I've got no doubt about that. I think all this noise that, they're happy to go with it, they're happy, blah blah. We were happy to go with Danny Ward in goal, and then we went. It's nonsense. I'm not having that. That's just a negotiating tool. I think I'm almost certain that's what that is. We're not desperate, but we kind of are desperate. We just don't want to let you know we're desperate. Liverpool are going to sign a centre midfielder. Who it is, again, that depends on the market. It's Newhouse from Gladbach's one who we know that they've been linked with, and then John McGinn's obviously the latest one. It's probably going to be one of those two. Like Yuri Tielemans was linked, and he's a very good player. I just don't see him leaving Leicester, to be honest. I'm not sure Leicester would let him go. But I personally, my guess is, if I had to get that, they'll sign John McGinn. I don't know what fee that'll be for now. They'll work it out. They'll try and do a deal for them. But I mean, the Newhouse link, I think I saw Neil Jones admit from goal, so you're right that it is legit interest, but he's at the Euro, so he can't do anything. So we'll wait and see how that one goes. But Liverpool will sign. I'm convinced you can't let a guy who plays 50 games a season leave and then not replace him. It's impossible. Jurgen Klopp and Michael Edwards are not idiots. As much as they try and play dumb in the media, they're not clowns. We're losing the one guy who's always available. We're going to have to go and get somebody else, because every single one of the other ones isn't always available. So yeah, they'll definitely sign someone. Just wait and see who it is.
Well, there you go. You don't say we don't give you exclusives on the Khanage transfer show. We've just heard from Ste, so go and follow him on Twitter. He's just announced John McGinn as a Liverpool player. So
you didn't announce it, Grizz.
You've done it now.
Give him a chance, will you?
So he's gone in on McGinn. So that's one for Nehouse, because Avy's told us that Nehouse is near enough completed and done. We're just waiting to announce it, and then Ste's gone on McGinn. But Gav, getting away from these two spoofers, Gav, three. We always hear about Jurgen Klopp sort of being very comfortable with a small squad, very small, tight-knit squad. He doesn't like working with big squads because his philosophy, his coaching is all about unity and keeping the understanding and sort of the balance, keeping everyone happy, motivated. That changes this season, doesn't it? That absolutely changes, surely. Because if it doesn't, then I know you said who's going to question Klopp. I would question Klopp for a start. Me and my army, right? Me and my army, because if Jurgen Klopp is happy with the situation that occurred last season, I get the madness of the centre back scenario. But overall, January, and we know we're not going to revisit that. It was mental. It was wrong. There's no defending it. If anyone's still defending it, then you're mad. You're absolutely mad. Surely they would have had plans from then, since then, that this doesn't happen. And as you said earlier, we got to do things different. Surely that includes Jurgen Klopp, right?
Yeah, like, you know, I was looking at Liverpool's possible starting 11, you know, without transfers coming in, and, you know, there's been a lot of money spent on that side, you know, and people will say, oh, we got such and such back in. That doesn't matter. You know, if you run a business, you don't run a business to get so much in and then spend double that. You know, it's a business at the end of the day. But I do think that Liverpool need to step out of the comfort zone just a little bit. A bit like they done with Alisson, or a bit like they done with Virgil van Dijk. You have to do something. I'm not saying that magnitude, because that's probably £100 million transfer in today's money. I'm not saying to that. Like Steve said, you have a player there that's guaranteeing you 50 games a season, and he's gone. And why he's gone, nobody really knows. You know, nobody knows definitively. You've seen from Gino. Yeah, you've seen from Gino and Aldum. You know, he'll explain the situation and stuff like that. It'd be my opinion that he was probably looking for 3 years on north of 100 grand a week, and Liverpool weren't willing to give him that. You know, and there was just a standoff, and then it's like, right, I'm out of here, and I'm fine. Gino and Aldum's been a great servant to Liverpool, but when you see not only what happened, forget centre half for a minute. When you look at midfield, you know, Henderson has had issues. Thiago has had one big issue, but he's been really good. I've said this before. Fabinho has the odd issue. Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita most definitely have issues. James Milner is 35 years of age, although I think he's done 8 kilometres today in about 4 minutes, because he's back in pre-season training.
Nearly as good as you, Gav.
Nearly as good as me, and I did message him directly.
And you don't have a bike.
Keep going, son. But when you look at the midfield options, Curtis Jones is still young. I like Curtis Jones. I think he's come on way more than I thought he would when I seen him going back 2 years ago. But he's still young, he's still learning, and he can still be a bit up and down, and that's to be expected. So when you look at that midfield, Grizz, and I hate using the words genie replacement, because people just think, what player in the world is exactly like Gino Wijnaldum, and we get him. I mean a body. I mean another person that's dependable. Mightn't be the same style, but it's dependable. Neuhaus hasn't been injured, I don't think, in his whole career. I think I've read that somewhere. He's brilliant injury-wise. He's brilliant, and he's an excellent record. And maybe that's what they're looking at. Someone that's really reliable, and he can work him and mould him. You know, the sort of way. So I agree with Ste and Avy and yourself. I think the midfielder will most definitely come in. Who that will be, I don't know. My preferred option would be Yuri Tielemans. I think just the style of player that he is. I think the age he's at, the value you could get out of him, the experience he's had in different leagues, and especially in the Premier League and in Europe with Leicester, I think is really, really good. And then you look at Ox and you look at Keita, and for me, Ox will stay because of the quota. Right, I think overall, the quota.
Because we need him at right back, Gav.
No, nothing to do with right back. I think it's because of the homegrown quota and, you know, the way the squads work. The only thing about Ox is I'm wondering how trusted he is, because he was injured and he was back and he was fit for a long time, and he didn't seem to be getting on the pitch. He didn't seem to be getting starts. He didn't seem to be getting a lot of game time. He scores at Burnley, of course, but I'm just worried how much he's trusted. And maybe it's just a case of nursing him back, and you'll see him, you know, involved a lot more next season. With regards to Keita, he's all the tools, Grizz. He has all the tools. But like you said, it's just not consistent enough getting on the pitch. And if me personally, I'd sell him and I'd sign Hossam Hour. That's what I'd do. And if you get the money for Naby Keita, you will get Hosam for the same money, 25 million quid, and it's done. And I hate to say it because I really, really, really want Naby Keita to be good for Liverpool, but he's just not on the pitch enough. And I think it showed up last season, him and Ox in particular, that they just weren't available, they weren't reliable enough, and that's how it goes. That's what I would do in midfield. And look, they probably do nothing like that, but that's why I'm here, just telling you what I would do. But I would. It's a central midfielder most definitely, and possibly two if they decide to move one other on. That's what I think will happen.
No, that's look. I really appreciate your insight on telling me what you would do in midfield. When I asked you, should Klopp change his thinking and philosophy about big squad? But listen, you can answer.
Well, I've answered that. I've answered that by saying that Genie leaves and Keita leaves, and you bring in two. It's the exact same size squad.
Avy, you listen. He has a go at me, Ste, in shows.
Simple
right?
maths.
I don't answer his questions, right? Today the roles are reversed. He's answering the wrong questions. I've asked him about Klopp.
No,
you could. Does his mindset change?
No,
people in the chat know. People in the chat know.
After that, hold on. After that answer, two have left the club and two have come in. Do you think his philosophy changes? No, it's the exact same numbers. If I'd have said to you, keep Ox, keep Keita, and tell you what, sign 3 more because you never know who'll be injured, then his philosophy changes because then he's 32 players and he doesn't know what to do with most of them. So his philosophy won't change. I think it's just the amount of people or the amount of dependable players that he has. I think that's what he will learn.
I think, Avy, one area of the pitch where I think it's unanimous, absolutely unanimous, there's no argument, that we definitely need a player that is good enough to sort of rival one of the guys up front for a starting spot. So we've tried the likes of Origi, Shaqiri, Brewster as well, and they haven't been up to it. Jota, we spent a decent amount on, 45 million, and he's proven to be quite an able deputy or even fighting for a place. It's unanimous, right, that we need to go for attacker. Now, an attacker that was mentioned this week, we try to cover every rumor that comes out on a weekly or a daily basis. And one that was coming out last night or last couple of days is, I know you're going to ask me about this pronunciation, Milan. Daniel Milan.
Daniel Malin.
Why are you cursing?
It's not Milan. It's not Milan, though. You say Milan. Milan.
Yeah, but it's not intentional, is it? It's not intentional.
It's Daniel Malin.
Daniel Malin. All right.
Malin.
He's going to be called Malin. It doesn't matter.
Malin. It's not Malin. It's not Milan.
All right. Daniel Malin. Okay. So this is links come out again. I thought he was fantastic against who did the Dutch play the other day in the Euros? I can't remember now. Where he started, didn't he?
North Macedonia.
Yeah, North Macedonia is it.
There you go. Gav,
Grizz, you'd play well against North Macedonia, to be honest.
No, that's yeah, I probably would. But look, Daniel Malin. Attributes, strengths, weaknesses. Talk to us about Daniel Malin.
Yeah, there's two things. I know Gav mentioned Hosam Aouar, but that's a strange one because I'm pretty sure if he was going to be snapped up, he would have been snapped up by someone by now. Because Lyon are definite. They literally will to get him off their books literally for 20 million euros, and no one's budged yet. And that's a weird one for me. Why it is maybe attitude issues and whatnot. Daniel Malin. I don't want to put the markers on him, but he does remind me of a young Ryan Babel. Ryan Babel had a great under-21s tournament for the Dutch team, and we brought him off the back of that when he was in the same team as Marco Richters and Royston Drenthe. And, Ryan Babel, the first debut season, he was on fire as a substitution. Like he was literally like a super sub, changed a few games. The Arsenal Champions League game at home, when he comes on and scores, I think he wins the penalty as well for Gerrard to convert. He's a good player. I'm just always a little bit skeptical when the Dutch players make that transition to the Premiership, especially recent times. But yeah, he's got the tools. He's a very intelligent footballer. I think the goal that he set up, the first one for Dumfries, was at the game before, where he, a normal selfish player will just like shoot.
Yeah, it was a game before, but it shows
he set that up for Dumfries. So he's got intelligence, movement. I know Big Kieran Thorne's a massive fan of him. I think he did a study on him as well. For one of the scouting reports. But yeah, he just a little bit of shades of Ryan Babel. Under the right manager, if we are interested in him, then I would, you wouldn't think that his career would go as, the way Ryan Babel's did. You'd think that Klopp and the team around him, they would definitely keep him grounded and really get, make him a really mature, intelligent player and make him the finished product.
Avy mentions that he's sort of a Ryan Babel type, which is very encouraging, I guess, for what we need. It's been muted that we're trying to go in a different direction in terms of a forward, something different that we haven't got. Would you be in favour of that? So for example, we've got forwards at the moment that are very multifunctional, can play anywhere across the front, and then we've got Bobby, who can drop deep as well. Even Sadio can play that deeper role as well. What are your thoughts on what kind of forward we need to bring in this summer then? Would you go for a target man like we've been having links with Vlahovic? I know we're interested in Vlahovic actually, who's a totally different type of striker to what we've got. A bit of a throwback to a young Andy Carroll, you could say. What's your thoughts on the type of forward that we should be looking at?
Yeah. I think there's an argument to me that Liverpool could just go and buy what you call an out number 9, just someone who just stays up front and scores goals. I think the fact that Roberto Firmino struggled to score goals is the argument in itself for that. If you just go and buy someone who is around the 6-yard box inside the penalty area and bags everything away, there's definitely a logic to that. I don't think they'll go that way because I think they want someone who is multifunctional, just so that they can get enough games into them and they can cover each other. The thing with Malin is that if you look, we've said before about if John McGinn might be a Jurgen Klopp player, I wouldn't be surprised that he's the stats guy's player. So if you look at the stats last season, was it 27 goals, 10 assists? He's 22 years old. Like the stats are almost saying he's on the Mo Salah, Sadio Mane trajectory of it's going. And if he's going to explode and become what he could be, maybe become what the stats say he's going to become, then we would quite like that to be at Liverpool. So if you can get him now for like the 35 million quid that they're talking about, again, very much in the Mo Salah range, then it makes sense that if you go and get him and then he goes on to that next level at Liverpool, then you've got yourself a £100 million player. We've done that twice already, so why not trust them to do it again? They've probably done it 3 times actually, because I think Diogo Jota's probably looking like he might be on that same path as well. Personally, I wouldn't be averse to Liverpool going out and signing, and like I say, an out number 9, your Lewandowski, Harry Kane, Erling Haaland type player. It makes sense to do that, but they are 3 world beaters. To find one of those who Liverpool could get might not be the easiest thing. I again, personally, if it was up to me, I think it's probably time to replace Bobby Firmino with someone who's more reliable in terms of goals. But I don't think Jurgen Klopp agrees. I don't think Liverpool agree with that. And I think if they go for someone, it will be someone more like Malin, like we've mentioned, who can do a couple of jobs. He's young, so isn't going to be phased if he's on the bench a little bit, like, and he's got to earn his place, a la Diogo Jota, and then we go from there. I think that's probably more, if they do it, that'll be the way they do it. But personally, if you could go and find me a number 9 who just spangs, you can get you 15, 20 goals all the time, I'd be all in favour. I just don't really know who that is in this market.
Yeah, it's a key, isn't it? When you say this market, it's a strange market. What I found, I think we've gone way over time, but it's what happens when you have a great chat. What I've seen, it seems to be the market seems to be, you've got your elite of elite strikers that seemingly are available, like your Harry Kanes, your Mbappe's, Lukaku's possibly. And then there's a massive, huge drop-off, isn't there, Gav? It seems to be a massive drop-off into the next level, like, of attacker available. Then you've got your Vlahovic's, your Marlons, your Depay's, yeah, these type. And there's a massive gap in terms of not only price, but in quality, it seems as well. So if you can't get the elite of the elite, you've got to trust the system and the process and the analytics team that, as Ste says, that to find that next gem. You know, it's got to be based on that, right? As opposed to money and the most expensive.
Yeah, well, Liverpool have a way of doing it. They look at all the analytics on
and
players.
It's pretty tried and tested. It's pretty successful.
It is tried and tested. I think it's an important sign for Liverpool in a couple of ways. And before I go on, Hussam Chatila says that we need a different kind of midfielder that we contributes goals from midfield, plays multiple positions. He reckons a young Pedro, and I'm going to say this, Pedro Goncalves, I think is the way they say
go on,
it.
Avy.
There is different ways of doing it, though. I believe. Go on, Avy. Give us the
Pedro Goncalves.
Okay, cool.
That's
Nice.
a load of bollocks. That's not right.
Yeah.
That's
I always thought it was Goncalves, but
I cannot see a H in that
no.
word.
That's made up.
That's how the Portuguese pronounce it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I got
I
lost for saying Gonçalves.
think the C has to have the little yolk underneath it for it to be
The
Goncalves.
little yolk.
But anyway, it looks like the bottom of a 5. That's the only way I can put it to you.
A little coat hanger I don't think of. Little coat hanger.
That's the
Yeah, something along them lines. Yeah, I'm good. What I would say though, I think this is an important sign for Liverpool on a couple of levels, because I said it the other night. We were talking to Jamie on last night, and I said to him, "Look, Divock Origi leaves the club. It's no loss at this stage, and I don't mean to be harsh on the guy, but it's no loss. Sorry, I have a fly flying around me here, and it's no loss." And then maybe Harvey Elliott comes in and gets a go in the squad. I think he'll do one of their loan. But you have got the front three. You have, as we know them, you have Diogo Jota, which is a brilliant signing, and it's turned out brilliant. And I think he's going to be exceptional in the season, in the league next season, depending on injury. But I think he's going to be brilliant. But this signing is about bringing in a really good player. I think it's somebody that, if one of those front three hits a bit of a bump, that they're there. But it's also forward planning, because, as I said earlier, you have got 3 players approaching 30, and they may look for one big contract somewhere else. It might be at Liverpool, but they might look somewhere else at some stage. So I think it's a big signing on a number of levels. I've looked up Malin, as he's telling us to call him, but it's Malin, right? I've looked him up. He's a goal 1 and 2 man goals wise. I think young, 22, can play across the front three, maybe off the left a bit more than off the right. He looks like a Liverpool signing, and he is one that's going to flag up. He is one that's going to flag up because of the age, the goals, how flexible he is with regards to position. I don't know if he's it though. I think we have that in Jota. I think we have that already in Jota. Okay. I would go down the road of like Steve said, like Grizz said, just go and get me a number 9. Get me a fella that can head the ball in the net 20 times in a season. And I'm not talking about a fella like an Andy Carroll that doesn't move a lot and stands in the box. Vlahovic is being mentioned, and I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I heard is technically good, can hold the ball, good feet, do you know the sort of way, good in the air. That sounds good to me. Something different, I think might be the one. I don't know if this Malin one happens, but we'll have to wait and see. There's definitely a forward coming in. As certain as Ste on a midfielder, I'm absolutely certain that a forward player will sign for Liverpool. Absolutely, 100%.
I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Where we're definitely, so look, subscribers, viewers, listeners who have tuned in, we've guaranteed you a midfielder and attacker coming in. No,
me and Steve have. Yeah, okay,
look, forget the names for a second, but we've guaranteed you a midfielder and a striker. Mm-hmm. So look, panic over, because I think there's a lot of panic that I think there was an article again from the infamous Echo which said Liverpool are very happy with the squad and no more signings, which, look, as Steve says, ignore, look, take it with a pinch of salt. We know there's negotiation tactics, and we're probably one of the best clubs in terms of negotiating in world football. Let them be. I think we're looking to sort of explode into life. Let the Euros finish. Let the Copa America take place. And I think we'll be okay come the end of the summer. And this frustration look, we're here to keep you sort of therapeutic, shows, give you therapeutic shows, just relax you and calm you down. Like, you've got 2 signings there in McGinn, Neuhaus, and Gav's pulling you Vlahovic. So look, jobs are good. But listen, it's been a brilliant show, man. I'm sorry to keep you over time today. I'm so sorry, mate. But Hayes, great chat. Absolutely.
Well, I'll say before we leave, I think I'm going to speak on behalf of all the guys here. If Liverpool don't sign a centre midfielder and a forward, all 4 of us agree to shave our heads bald. I think that's
no chance.
I'll do it. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I'll go one further. I'll shave my beard off. He's going to try to grow a beard.
I won't go one further, but I'd like to shave my head in Liverpool over points, if that's okay.
Even better.
Yeah, good.
Even better.
Yeah,
But look, it's been fantastic. Look, give us a like on your way out. Give us a subscribe. Stay. Where can everyone find you, man? If they want more of your great content, more great insight, where can everyone find you? Let them know.
Twitter at Ste Hoare, STEHOARE, and I'll be tweeting mainly nonsense about Everton, but a bit of Liverpool.
Amazing stuff. That's what we like to hear. Mr. Blue Chip, it's been a pleasure. I know your Wi-Fi let us down, but sort that out, mate. Come on. What's the point of living in a 1.2 million mansion when your Wi-Fi's crap?
Okay, and I'll sort it out. I'll make sure it's up to scratch next week.
And Gav, now you know what it's like to be on the other side. Listen to my
I enjoy it.
When I ask you a question, listen to it and then answer it accordingly, mate. All right.
Okay. Make sure you watch this back and read that out to yourself before Sunday, won't you?
But yeah, I will do. Listen, everyone in the chat, thank you very much. As usual, the chat's been popping. You know I'm crap at pulling up all the comments, so forgive me for that. And until next, what day is it, Gav? Next Thursday again?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll be here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with some positive news. And until then, everyone, thank you very much. Enjoy your evenings.